Hello, this is Mrs. Boatman, and I just wanted to shoot out a video and help you guys get started on your phase three, which is building that first page for your web project. Just going to give you a couple of hints and tidbits of information to help you make things a little bit easier. So one of the hardest things to understand is how do I get my page looking exactly the way I wanted it to look. So I laid out here a basic page for you to look at. It's got a title. This title, you'll be able to see this in the top of your browser. And of course, it's got the char set. I have a link here to a style sheet, which is what you'll need to do for your project. We need your style sheet, your .css sheet, and whatever you want to name it. And I named mine style, but you'll need to put it in a folder, and I named my folder style sheet, and I've made a /style.css. This links to this style sheet. So when this page renders in a browser, it will be pulling this style sheet and applying some styles to it. I have the start of my body, and then inside my body, I'm a wrapper fan. I like my pages to be centered off into in the middle of the screen. I'm not a side to side type of girl, so I like to put a wrapper in. To me, it just makes it look cleaner, neater. And that's just me. If you don't like it, you can always take this div out, but I created a div and it's called wrapper, and I'll show you how the style sheet works with that. I put in a header. This is a layout example. I put in a nav, just like you guys will have a nav. It'll be a UL, and so maybe your pages are called home, menu, directions, and contact. Maybe you have something called a little bit different, but this is my example. I need one more page in here, but for time's sake, I just threw this out there. Your home page, your main page, is always called index.html. Make sure that all things that you do, unless the public is seeing it like this paragraph, but all things that you do, make sure that it is lowercase. Since we are a Linux server, we need to make sure that everything we do is in a lowercase. Now, the public sees the word home, menu, directions, and contact, and that needs to be uppercase. I've closed out my nav, I've closed out my UL, closed out my nav, opened my main. This is where I wanted to put some main information. I put a page heading, and then I put two paragraphs. Closed out my main. I also put a footer inside this wrapper. So if you click on the div for the wrapper, you can actually see here at the bottom where that div closes. This is a good way to test your page to see, hey, I wrote the opening tag. Did I close the opening tag? So when you click on it, you can see where it begins and where it ends. You can also see that I have body, div, I have everything spaced and lined up the way it should be. The only thing different that I could add in here would be some comments, and I'll do a video to show you that later on. Just wanted to get the main idea behind the page done. Closed out my body, closed out my HTML, and so if I was to render this page right now, and I already have, it looks something like this. So I threw a lot of color out here because I wanted you to see exactly how each section works as far as coding it with CSS. So this purple part here, this is my body. This blue part, this is my wrapper, and then this red part, this is my main, and then I put my nav here in yellow. So let's go back to Notepad++ real quick, and let's take a look at that style. So in my body, I put the purple. In the wrapper, here's the blue. Anytime you see the word color, that describes, hey, the color of the text. I put the width of this wrapper to 80, and we can actually change that to 90 if you wanted to do that. I gave it a margin and a minimum width, and we'll write some more code that helps produce a mobile query, and we'll further explain that later on. I have the nav. I told it where to position the nav, so I wanted mine floating left. I gave it a width of 150 pixels, and I gave it a background color of that Ooh, yes, that orange. And then I gave my main, if I wanted my main to butt right up next to, and you notice I have this little bit of 5 pixel space here on my main. If I wanted it to butt right up next to my nav, I would change this to start at 150 pixels because I told my nav to be 150. I want my margin left to start right at 150. I gave it a weird background color too so you could see it. And then the text inside the main is black. Now, if I wanted to, I notice I have a footer down here. It's called copyright. I could come over here and within my HTML, I could write a footer and space that out and give it a little space in here called background. That pulls up. You can just do the arrow key down and hit tab. Make sure that you put that colon. And if we wanted to do, say, a really wow off the wall, let's do something really dark. Let me see if I can pick a dark color. Got a color chart opened up on another screen. I'm going to close this out with a semicolon, hit enter so that my curly bracket comes down underneath my footer, and let's save this. Let's go back over here to my page and let's hit the refresh button, and now we can see exactly, hey, I fixed that little 5 pixel problem between my nav and my main, and now my footer is in a darker color. Notice I still have some problems here. You can solve that a couple of different ways. If you wanted to put some breaking spaces in there, or you wanted to tell it to align at 100%. So we'll cover that later on too. I just wanted to give you an idea of getting started, how the color scheme all works out. And then if you have any questions, you can let me know. I will give you a helpful hint. If you can't ever get your main to line up with the rest of your, maybe your footer, maybe your header. I have seen people make their header, their nav, and their footer all the same, and their main is something different. Then you can color code all of this the same color, and so then you can't tell where your nav ends or your div for your wrapper begins. I mean, it all bleeds in together when it's all the same color. So just something to share with you, and maybe this will help you get a better start with everything that you're doing. Let me know, and I'll try to make some more videos and keep you guys posted on getting started on this project.